Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. To live, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. Our guest today is a great friend, someone I rely on for my well being, fitness, wellness, and have for some time. I've gotten maybe too many compliments as of recent on how I am showing up in the world aesthetically and energy wise. And a lot of that has to do with this person around fitness and wellness and wholeness, holistic lifestyle choices. They've been an advisor, trainer to some amazing people of all walks of life for the last just about decade and a half professionally. They've been studying and have tutelage under some amazing professors and thought leaders in wellness in their tenure. They're an awesome person and was introduced by somebody very special in my life, chance meeting that we'll maybe talk about a little bit. But our guest today is Michael Christensen, somebody that you need to hire, but you may have to get on a long waiting list to work with, who's more than just the nearby trainer. So thanks for just coming on the Culture Matters podcast. This is long overdue.
I appreciate being here. Thank you. And your hard work is what actually got you to where you're at. So I just kind of helped you along that path.
I appreciate that, and when it comes to those that are listening that have a desire, we're recording this in October of 2024, and it'll be out this month. The New Year's resolution is coming up. I just realized that right now.
hmm
If that's where people are starting, what would be feedback of how to make it to February and March and
Consistency,
April and
consistency, and I have a very solid way of doing things. And what I like to do is I like to figure out where that person is at, and then we just start doing small wins. You always want to keep winning, and those small wins will soon add up to very big wins. And the reason why I think a lot of people fail in that New Year's start is they go from 0 to 100 and they don't do the in betweens, and that's where things become you're too sore, you're too tired, it's too much for you to have done, so you just say forget it, I'm done. Starting off small and getting nice building blocks and a great foundation under you for strong health is absolutely paramount when you want to have a successful program. And one of my biggest things that I do is that I make sure that I go to where the person is at, literally, because I do at home, versus trying to mold them into what I want them to be. Uh, I don't know what everyone's personal life looks like, their work life, where they're at mentally in regards to being healthy. I won't even know what they're eating because I'm not with them 24/7. But if I can give people small changes to make over a period of time, 12 months is a long time to get really great results. And what I try to explain to people is if you lose half a pound a week, what does that add up to? 25 pounds or more a year. That is a big thing for people. You
mm,
lose 1 pound a week, you lose 52 pounds a year. That is huge amounts of goals for people.
wow.
And if you're and if that's if your goal is weight loss, if your goal is being stronger, adding a pound, 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds to your bench press, to your squat, to your deadlift each month adds up to how many per. I mean, if you do 10 pounds per month on your bench press, you're going to be benching 120 more pounds by the end of the year. Huge. So for me, it's all about small, attainable goals. And we just keep working and progressing through those goals so that you're always having wins. The
Mm.
more wins you have, the more likely you're going to continue because you're going to be happier because you reached your goals. And even with that said, exercise failure isn't always failure because when we work to failure, what are we doing? We're getting stronger. So it's also a lesson in when things don't go the way you wanted it to, what are you gonna do tomorrow? And making sure that you're taking that failure and using it as energy to get stronger. So I always really preach that failure doesn't have to be a bad thing. Failure is actually a good thing because it should make you stronger and more aware of what you're capable of handling. So, and it goes to nutrition. If somebody has a difficult time keeping sweets in the house and they failed because they ate those sweets, well, now you know, hey, maybe I shouldn't be keeping sweets in the house. Or maybe if I want something sweet, maybe I do like a rice cake versus a spoonful of Nutella, different things like that.
Mm.
And making sure that we have, they're called swaps, making sure that we have those swaps available for people when they, based upon their own personal nutrition, health, mindset, and how they handle certain situations. Some people are, when they get stressed out, they eat. Well, if I know I'm working with a stress eater, I'm very diligent and I want them to be very diligent about what they keep in the house.
How
So,
about our listeners that are finding themselves sitting, like right now?
mhm.
I'm sitting since the very early morning, having conversations with people on the internet or through the internet, rather.
Exactly.
Find ourselves sitting that are entrepreneurs 10 hours in a day, 8 hours in a day. Are there things that we can look at to uh, pattern interrupt that can be easy?
Absolutely.
Easy.
There's a ton of things that is out there right now, and actually they just followed up with some new research, which I'll go into in a second. But one of the biggest things I talk to people about is getting a standing desk. Standing desk makes a huge difference in your day. So if you can, and you set timers on your phone, you sit for an hour, you stand for an hour, and you go back and forth between that. If you're doing a lot of computer work, make sure your printer is in a different room. So if you print something, you have to go get it. What I like to do too is when you get into a specific, if you're writing a document, or for it, I'll use your case for instance. You're doing a podcast. When you're scheduling your podcast, make sure you schedule 10 minutes in between or 15 minutes in between. Just get up and go walk around the house real quick. Step outside to get some sun, get some fresh air, and then come back in, get something to drink, sit back down, and get back to work. Having those breaks is huge. One thing that we have really pushed with a lot of the employees, the wellness program, is that they're out walking for meetings, they're out walking during their breaks. They get a great opportunity because they can come in and actually work out with me for 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending upon their break times. And that
Wow.
breaks up and gives them the energy they need to get through their day because they're working 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. because they're doing 10-hour days. And so they need that because they just sit. And it's like they come to me and it's like a kid in kindergarten ready for PE. They're
Whoa.
excited to get up and
That's
move.
fascinating.
Yeah. So it's
Unpack. Let's
awesome.
unpack that for a second. Wellness
Sure.
program. You have an organization, I believe very deeply involved with, actually impacting their
Yes.
culture and their productivity. They've invested in this idea of what holistic wellness. Can you unpack that a bit?
So, one of my clients was the HR director for the city of Pompano Beach, and he loved personal training. He loved the aspect of being able to text me or call me anytime and get an answer to whatever his question was. And he wanted to bring that to his employees, especially the ones that typically could never afford to have that type of personal training. And so we developed this program where I would see the employees on a 15-minute time frame, or groups would be a little longer. And it's turned out to be some of the most amazing experiences I've had so far in my career, and I've been able to help so many people. It's absolutely amazing. And the biggest thing for me is that I bring a professionalism in a profession that they wouldn't normally have access to. And it's not just nutrition, it's not just health. They come to me when they're not, if their back is hurting, or their wrist is hurting, or something is going on where they hurt their shoulder and they just don't know where to go or who to talk to. And I help guide them into where they need to be at. I help develop the programs and encourage the employees to get outside and move. I've taught them that walking, like, exercising with purpose is also very, very important. Where let's not just walk around the block twice and call it a day. Let's actually push ourselves to maybe walk around the block 3 times in the same amount of time, or walk 4 times and just keep moving forward, so they're constantly getting better and better and better. And what's been great is that we've built this culture around being healthier. And what do teammates, good teammates, do when they're playing together? They push each other, they pick each other up, they
Huh.
work well together. And we've created this almost like this gym atmosphere inside of City Hall and other in the other satellite areas, and people are working better together. They're getting healthier, they're happier, they're being more productive, they're being more a team. Um, and speaking of that, just recently, one of my contacts at the city complimented me because they said they're having less HR issues. You know, their workers' comp stuff is down, and that the rate of their insurance and things like that is being impacted. And so
Wow.
they're super super happy with what we're doing, and developing new programs and working with more people and trying to really branch out and take care of these employees. It's making a huge difference with them.
What would you say accountability, having that external accountability has on people's personal responsibility?
I think it's been amazing. So we use, and what's great is when you're working with such a large amount of people, it's very difficult to keep everyone accountable. So what we use is we use an app called Wellable that I whitelisted for the city only. And it's called gamification. And what the employees get to do, they earn points for being active. They earn points for taking health quizzes and watching health videos and doing health challenges. And it's a game for them where everyone wants to be at the top. And then what we will do is we'll do random giveaways for whoever reaches X amount of points. People who are involved in the wellness program in the app, they actually get to do special events that are only for them. So we reward them for being healthy and for taking their health seriously.
I'm working, let's say, aggressively to grow my. We have a lot of entrepreneurs listening. Grow my business, grow my brand. It's a lot of hours,
Mhm.
and I don't feel like I have the energy.
Okay.
I'm drinking a tremendous amount of caffeine to keep up. How do I get more energy?
So here's the important thing. I can go deep, deep, deep into science for that if you want. But there's a saying that I love, and I know you like quotes.
Yeah.
Health is your wealth. If you do not have health, you will not have wealth. And the reason being is if you get sick and you can't work, where is the money going to come from? So, and I want to give that quote, I want to give credit to a gentleman named David that I work with. He does safety. He's the one that taught me that quote. If you need more energy, you need to create more energy. The way the energy system works in the body is called ATP. If your body, a couple things, and like you, I enjoy my caffeine. I really enjoy my caffeine. Um, but exactly, if we become reliant on caffeine, our body doesn't produce the energy it needs that we're asking for. Okay, yeah. See, you go from one half empty to one full, right? Real quick.
I'm that
Here,
trouble client. I need,
yeah.
help me
But
out.
here's the thing. Caffeine is not bad if done correctly. It's actually been proven to be great for brain functionality, great for maintaining healthy weight. We don't want to, like anything else. If we abuse it, it becomes bad. Okay. So here's what I do, and I recommend this for everyone. You you and I both work very long hours. I mean, we used to see each other at 5 a.m. Right? So I recommend scheduling yourself 10 to 15 minutes to close your eyes in a dark room and just let your body come to peace. Don't think about work. Cold room, just calm everything and relax. Close your eyes. Whether you sleep or not, it doesn't make a difference. Just relax. And being able to do that should help your body reset, because it's not a physical energy issue, because it's never that. It's a brain issue.
Wow.
We need our brain to calm down and reset. And it doesn't take long for that to happen as long as we're doing it mindfully. So if you're going to lay down in a cold room and you're just going to keep thinking about work, that's not going to help you. You have to close your eyes and calm your brain, and that will help you reset and get back to work at a higher capacity.
What
Because physically you're not tired, your brain is exhausted from being so active.
I find myself getting what seems to be sick a lot, but I what's a lot? Can we unpack that a bit? Like, how often
Yeah,
is there an a lot or a too little? Or because some people I've talked to don't get sick ever or say they don't, but the question becomes in my mind, well, do they even? How hard do they work? Or
yes. So there's
what's their lifestyle like? So I'm curious
and
about that.
so here's a couple things with that. You also have to look at the person. You travel a lot, okay? And anyone's going to tell you because of the traveling alone and being on airplanes, you're always going to be susceptible to whatever's in that airplane. Okay, so if somebody's sick in that airplane, it doesn't matter where they're at in the plane. You're susceptible to it. Okay,
Really? I didn't know that. That's
yes.
interesting.
And when we become overworked and tired, our immune system starts getting beaten up. Okay, because it's working overtime because we're not giving it a chance to rest because we don't sleep enough. So you are always going to be susceptible to that. Now, if you suffer from allergies, that's also going to be a factor, right? Because allergies is what? Your immune system's constantly fighting whatever you're allergic to. So it's busy trying to fight that when something else is invading. Okay.
Mm.
And here's a couple things that we can do to boost our immune system. One, healthy diet. Two, healthy sleep. And sleeping 8 hours and healthy sleep are two very different things. We need to make sure that we're actually getting good quality sleep. Because you can get 8 hours of sleep that's not good, and you can get 6 hours of good quality sleep, and you'll feel much better with those 6 hours. The last thing is what does exercise do? It doesn't just make our muscles stronger, it makes our body stronger. It works systemically. So if we're exercising, and when I mean exercising, I'm not talking about going to the gym and lifting 100 pounds. You can go for a jog or go for a walk, and that's still exercise. And you're getting fresh air, you're getting vitamin D, you're getting the sunlight, we're getting grounded, we're getting the magnetic fields and all that's all around us. It's helping improve our cells. So there's a lot of systemic things that we can do that are sound really simple but hard to put in practice when you're an entrepreneur and you're working 12 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah, I
But
wanna
we
talk about or go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
well, we just have to make the best conscious effort that we can to follow those things and to do the best that we can with what we have. And when we have the opportunity to make the best of it, we have to take it. It has to be done. So if you have a Saturday where you're off, maybe you go for a 3 mile walk. Maybe you take a nap to kind of get a little extra rest in. Maybe you do a little meal prepping so that your food is set for you for the next day, so you know what you're eating. And different things like that make a big, big difference. Our water intake, making sure we're drinking the right amount of water,
Mm.
and then offsetting with the amount of caffeine we're drinking. We have to also offset with the water we're
Oh, how
drinking.
much water should I drink? If I have 80 ounces of coffee a day, how much water should I drink?
So what I typically would say is you can't go by 80 ounces of coffee. Like if you have 80 ounces of coffee, which I know you don't, there's other stuff going on besides coffee. But if you
I'm
said
just
80
throwing at
ounces
an
of
arbitrary number out.
yeah, so caffeine we actually measure in milligrams. So it's but what you're if you're saying coffee, 80 ounces of coffee, I would actually count that as water. Okay, so how much do you weigh, for instance?
Yeah, but probably 235, 240, let's
Okay,
just say for
so
easy math.
So we'll say 240. So what I would recommend is you drink half your weight in ounces. So you need a minimum of 120 ounces of water per day to maintain your hydration. That's if you're not outside profusely sweating. So then we're going to add in the 80 ounces of coffee. So if you did the 80 ounces of coffee and you got, I'd say 90 to 100 ounces of water, I think you'd be pretty well hydrated at that point. Again, as long as you're not outside playing pickleball for 3 hours in this heat, Florida heat, that would be a different story.
It's like 10,
But
11, 12 water bottles. They're like 8 ounce.
yeah, so yeah, exactly. So if you want to go by like a normal water bottle, these are 16.9 ounces. So you base it upon that and how many you would need. So you would need, I would probably say what, eight, 9 if you do the math.
Something
And
that
probably
stopped
8.
me from drinking as much water, I think, without even realizing is I don't wanna have to go to the bathroom a lot because I'm working so much. I don't wanna be
Okay.
going away, and, like, have you found that with clients over time or something to that effect?
The so what ends up happening in the beginning, it becomes difficult. It is difficult in the beginning, but your body adjusts to it. Um,
Oh, like, you
and the
mean you'll
first
go to the bathroom more maybe and then do less because body or no?
Well, here's what you'll do. You'll in the beginning for the first couple weeks, you'll actually find yourself frequenting the bathroom more often. But then after that, your body will become accustomed to the water, and you'll actually, when you go to the bathroom, you'll go more, right? Because you'll be able to store the water better. Because remember, our body is actually the human body is actually ingenious. It's the best AI robot ever. It will always adjust to whatever we do to it. It makes
Wow.
adjustments no matter what, whether it's positive or negative. It will always adjust for the best possible survival rate that we can have because the body just wants to survive. So it makes those adjustments.
Is there, heuristic for a busy professional around how many times a week exercise, the bare if I'm just because just we have the new year coming up,
Mhm.
6 days a week burnout versus, 1 day a week, not enough. Is there some, in your view, if you could eat, a healthy balance,
So
or
the
advice you give?
recommendation is 150 minutes of exercise per week. That's the standardized recommendation. The new research came out and says that you can actually do a lot of that as a weekend warrior, um, and still gain benefit from it and not do anything during the week. I personally don't advocate for that. I think carving out 15 minutes on a daily basis to do something, um, everyone should be able to find time for that. And it doesn't mean you need to go to a gym. 100 push-ups a day, doing jumping jacks, going for a walk. You can do any of these things. I know I'll use you as an example because you're here. You like to go on the treadmill and make phone calls and read and do your thing.
Yep.
So that's where you're being efficient, right? So you're going to read, so you're going to stimulate your brain, and you're going to walk at the same time. And next thing you know, you've already done 30 minutes and you didn't even realize it, and you got a lot out of those 30 minutes. So really what it is you got to treat your body like your business. Because ultimately, if you don't take care of your body, you're not taking care of your business either because you're not going to be around to care for it. And that's just business portion. We're not even talking about family. If you have a family, you got to be there. I mean, that's all. Like for me, my family is insanely important, and I made changes in my business from 7 days a week to 6 days a week to 5 days a week because I needed for my life to be more fulfilled. I needed to be with my family more, and so
Do you
that's why
think
I
that
chose
do
to
you
do
think
that.
there's any, relationship with the other facets of our life and how our health, like
100%,
yeah, can
100%.
you
There's
elaborate on that a little bit? Holistic?
Absolutely. So if you look at the pillars of wellness, and it depends on who you ask how many pillars there are, but I like to use 7 pillars of wellness. We've already talked about physical, we've talked about nutritional, there's spiritual. And spiritual doesn't have to mean religion, it just has to mean that you are in tune with the things around you in your life. And spiritual could be as simple as making sure your house is clean. So when you come home, you feel refreshed when you walk in the door. Spiritual could be making sure you give your wife a hug and a kiss before you walk out the door because that's what's going to make your day better. Spiritual could be giving making sure you tuck your son or daughter in at night because that's what gives you fulfillment. And then when we can go. Then we have environmental, enjoying the world that's been given to us. And a lot of people, I think, miss that big portion of being outside. And when you look at the science behind it, we have a magnetic field that's around the Earth. And that magnetic field is actually what helps us to sustain life on this planet. If we're not outside enjoying that magnetic field, we're losing a good portion of our ability to stay healthy. And that in itself is called grounding. And there's a lot of holistic ways that people do grounding, but ultimately just being outside and getting the UV light and the sunlight on us and breathing in fresh air has made a huge. It's just especially after COVID, they did a lot of research on it. Big difference in our ability to maintain our health, and that's the
Mm.
environmental, educational, which is your favorite. I can guarantee it. Constantly working our brains to learning something new. Doesn't matter what it is, but just to learn something new, we strengthen our brain. And our brain is a muscle like any other part of our body. It's actually the most important muscle because it runs everything. The stronger that is, the better everything else is.
Mm.
And then we have the social aspect of wellness, where we're able to connect to the people that we care about and building relationships with the people that we love. They've found people who are able to connect with others in a social way have better fulfillment in life. And I truly believe that. I mean, no one on their deathbed has been said, "Hey, I wish I worked more." Everyone. I wish I would have been with my family more, or I wish I would have been with my loved ones more, something along those lines. Um, and financial wellness. This is a big one, especially. I'm not going to go into politics, but this is a big one right now. People are struggling and having a hard time, and that puts a
Yeah.
lot of stress on people. And even people who are doing well are tightening up now, and they're having those stress because they can't live the same life that they were living before. And I actually find in the corporate wellness that is actually a very, very big area, because people
Yeah.
come to work stressed. And they get those notifications in the morning that their bank account, what their bank account is, and they walk in the door and they're already having, it's on their mind instead of
Wow.
focusing on what their job is. And uh, it's one of the biggest drivers of mental health issues too. It's causing depression, it's causing anger, it's causing a lot of problems. And what is one of the biggest things that people talk about with divorce? Usually is financial. Is
Do,
usually where
do
the
you
arguments end up.
do you think that with these stresses of our life that put us in reactive states, having a proactive plan in exercise that recalibrates us at some level psychologically?
100%. And so being able to self-talk is very, very important. And being able to communicate effectively is very, very important. And um, you know, you're married, I'm married, and so communication is absolutely important. And I'm going to tell you right now, I with my wife will agree. I am not always the best communicator, but we've actually had many conversations on how we should be communicating with each other. And one big important thing that I've had to learn, and is that no matter what the person is upset about with me, they're upset for a reason. So I shouldn't discount what they're saying, even though I don't agree with it or I don't understand it. I don't discount what they're saying, and I got to understand why. So,
Mm.
and when you go to the business aspect of it, if you have, let's say your boss or you have an employee that's upset about something, you need to understand why. Instead of just jumping right back down their throat and pushing them back down, you need to say, hey, you got to understand, why is this person upset? There's an obvious reason. Now, maybe they were upset about something else, and then this just set them over the edge. And that's not necessarily going to be your place in business to discuss what's going on, but having that understanding and being able to diffuse a conversation by saying, hey, you know what, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way, what can we do to make it better? And then you've given validation to their feelings, and you're making them feel like they're important.
Mm.
And it is very, very important. And I do that with my clients when they call me and they're upset about something where they failed, or where they feel like they're not getting somewhere. And well, why do you feel that way? What has made you feel like you have not reached your goal, or that you're not reaching your goals? And I'll give you an instance. I had a client. It's like, I feel like I'm not getting stronger. And why are you not getting stronger? Oh, because I can't do a full push-up yet. Yes, but you did it. But when we first met a year ago, you couldn't do 10 push-ups on your knees, and now you can do 100. So how are you not getting stronger? Well, I haven't been able to do a full push-up yet. Okay. You haven't been able to do a full push-up yet, but you can do 100 where you used to only be able to do 10. And I even reminded, when you were doing exercise, we did body weight in the beginning because weights were too heavy for you. And now you're deadlifting 150 to 200 pounds. So how I want, like, let's look at the big picture, not just focus in on one little area, and
Mm.
help try to find those places where people are they're so hyper focused on their failure, they're not seeing where they have succeeded. So bringing them from failure to succeed is the most important part.
Mm,
And doing that with your employees and doing that with your staff, I think is absolutely critical to have an environment that where people are really happy to come to work.
mm.
It's just like having that environment where you're really happy to come home. Like I can't wait to come home. I love coming home, and that's because my family and my wife and I have created a great environment where we're excited to see each other because we haven't seen each other all day. Because we both are entrepreneurs, we both work crazy hours, and there's times where we might not see each other for. I mean, I give my wife a kiss goodbye; she's not even awake yet most of the time. So,
Yeah,
and then
you
we
get
don't
up
see each other till
what,
eight
at
o'clock
3
at night.
AM, 3:30?
I'm up at 3:30 to make sure I get my workout in before work, yeah, and then do some reading and stuff like that.
How do you, advise people to start, getting ready for bed earlier to be able to be more productive in the morning? Are there ways that you have mastered or to kind of slow down?
So, um, my recommendation is for people is you you have to create an environment. There's a couple of theories out there, and I want to really emphasize theories because nothing has actually been proven. When we come home, an hour before bed, we want to drop the temperature a couple degrees in the house because that actually signals to the brain that it's time to go to sleep because of changes. Like when we live in South Florida, there's not a lot of temperature change going on. So, but when we say we've been home for a couple hours and our body has thermoregulated, if we drop a couple of degrees, it does kind of signal it's time for us to go to sleep. And so that's one thing that can be done. Another thing is turn off the electronics. I know that's the hardest part. Turn the electronics off. If you're not going to turn the electronics off, and let's say you want to read in bed, get the blue light lenses or the blue light cover so that you're not getting that light that stimulates the brain. Um, and being purposeful. I mean, taking your sleep as serious as your business is important because, again, sleep is where we recover. That's where our body fixes everything we've done to it all day. And if we don't sleep enough, we don't recover enough. And again, like you said, like you're always trying to find energy. Our sleep actually affects our workout. The other day, I had a little bit of a break, which is not normal. So I worked out later in the morning. I actually had a much better workout than I did at 3:30 in the morning
Wow.
because I had a little more time to rest and I was more awake and more energy from being up. So that's sleep is critical. And they actually just came out with new research that does. They used to say you can't make your sleep up on the weekend, but they actually came out in research that you actually can make up some of your sleep on the weekend. So if during the week you're super busy and you're working, try to get 6 to 8. But if you only get 6 all week long, make sure you get 8 on Friday, make sure you get 8 on Saturday, and do your best you can to get 8 on Sunday.
Have you found that high performing people exercise?
Oh yeah, 100%. I find that actually the majority of the CEOs and business owners that I work with, they exercise like crazy because it's their outlet. And you'll find I've found personally a lot of the CEOs of big corporations, they like to run because it shuts the brain off.
Oh, yeah?
So it's actually relaxing for them to go for a run. But high performing people typically understand the importance of health. It's making sure you dedicate the time to it. And and we had the conversation yesterday, um, where they know they need it, they're just not doing it. So they know the importance of it, whether they're doing it or not. And making sure they find the time to do it is the important part. And here's the thing: everyone can find time. It's valuing that time for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I
That's the
like that.
problem. And as I know, as we own our own business, that we sacrifice our personal time for everyone else, and not just our business, but for our family too. We sacrifice that time, and we really do need to look at ourselves and say
Yeah, I'm
we're
less
important
important than the
enough.
client.
Yeah, yeah, and I do. I put my family first. I put my business second, and I put me third. That's how I do down the line. And
I
as
like
a
I like you more for that.
it's true. I do. And that's something, a mindset that has changed over the years as I've grown as a person. Because when I started my personal training business, my personal training business was everything. And then being meeting with my wife and then and my son, I've come to realize that yes, I have a business to run, and yes, that is super super important. But at the end of the day, when my days are done, what am I going to really miss? What am I going to say I wish I had more of? And that's going to be spending time with my family, I'm making memories with my wife and my son, and doing those things. So I have definitely dedicated a lot to my business, but I've also made sure that I dedicate more to my family.
I
I
have a
think
I'm curious about
good.
this idea, like, I'm thinking, how in this conversation, how can I walk on the treadmill while recording these podcasts? But the issue is I have to take notes. I forgot my notepad yesterday when I was doing a podcast. The first 5 minutes, I was like, "Oh my god, I've never forgotten mine." I left it in the kitchen, and
Mhm.
I said to Alan, "Hey, let's take the." It was live. Like, let's go. I got to go to the kitchen to get my remarkable. I forgot. I can't
Yeah.
take notes. So like, I want to be able to take notes, but like, would it be feasible to walk on the treadmill?
You want to
Uh,
know my honest opinion? I would
oh,
tell you not. I would.
absolutely.
I would tell you not to.
Or what do you? Yeah, what do you think?
I would tell you not to, because what I think you should do on the treadmill is for your personal health. Reading, doing things like that, and
Okay,
making it purposeful. Because right, so when you say that, you're okay, I'm trying to be efficient, let me do a podcast while I'm on the treadmill, which could be fun if you're doing it, but you're taking away from the quality you're going to have from either area. You're not going to get the
you're
health, you're
right.
not going to get the personal health, and then you're not going to get that personal podcast feel, because you're going to be focusing on one or the other. Potentially you could end up getting hurt, to be honest with you, because you trip, because you're not
Yeah,
paying attention,
especially
right?
on those. Shout out to Peloton. Sorry,
Exactly.
those. What did they kind of skip every once in a while? I don't know.
Exactly.
Uh,
So I actually would recommend you taking your treadmill time and making it your personal time, and then keeping those two separate from each other.
you remind me of
Um,
Confucius, man who chases two rabbits catches none.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
I love that statement actually. But and that's actually what it'd be. You would be losing benefit from both sides.
Is there a scenario where I force my guests to walk with me on their own treadmill? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's a different
Actually, that
show. I
could
mean,
it could be a fun, but see, that would be an off the cuff type of show, right?
yeah.
You would be like, hey, this we're just gonna talk, and we're gonna go through it, no notes. It's just gonna be a conversation.
Oh my, the walk and talk series, and then I'll finally be able to work out. No, so no, and I have to give you a testimonial. I have been working out and I have been
Good,
exercising and I
good,
have been and obviously have anyone listening to this that does not invested in advisory like someone like Michael to be with you in your journey. For whatever reason, I think everyone is missing out. I'm proud to say, hey, I have advisors. You're one of my advisors when it comes to fitness, accountability, exercise. I'm blessed. I want to have that help. I don't need to know it all or be it all. I'm staying in my lane, and I challenge the audience to hire training, to reach out to Michael. You give your information. If he can't help you, he knows somebody that can. But that is
absolutely.
huge, and it's unquantifiable.
Agreed. And having somebody in your corner that you can work with and understands your situation, and maybe not necessarily understand your situation, because like for me, I don't know exactly how you feel about it, because I'm not you. But when you speak to me, I can listen. I can help figure out different ways to make things better. And is one thing that's super important too is when you are looking for somebody, when it comes to personal training, it comes to personal coaching, and you know this more than anybody, it's not in the big knowledge base, it's in the details. So it's when you can find somebody that can look at what's going on and say, hey, you know what, you got this little area over here that's not working right, let's try this to see if we can get it to function better. versus saying, hey, just do 100 squats today and everything will be okay. You know, or just eat chicken and you'll be fine. Chicken and vegetables and you're good, right? So, well, you hate chicken. Well, okay, let's find an alternate. Or um, if I go to the exercise portion of it, say you're stepping up on a bench, right? And I'm looking at your heel, but your ankle is starting to deviate in, which is going to cause a dysfunction at the knee or the lower back. And then we start working on getting your foot to be stronger and functioning correctly. And then it doesn't just make the exercise better, but now your foot's moving correctly. So when you're walking now, you're going to feel better. You're not going to burn so much energy trying to walk in a dysfunctional gait, but you're actually your body's going to start moving more in balance. And when we start becoming more in balance, our body starts working better systemically. Our organs will start working, functioning better. We'll have more energy. We'll sleep better. We'll be happier because we're not fighting our own body to move.
Mm.
So it's really, it's in the details. You know, when you find somebody to work with, you want to find somebody that's looking at your details and not just the big picture.
I want to talk about some myths of exercise because me as a case
Sure.
study, 33 at the time, first meeting, a bit, heavier than I would have liked to be. I've lost fat. I have more muscle. I'm getting acknowledgement from other people that, hey, you look different. I feel great. And although I'm pursuing to get better and be higher, higher level always, when we exercise, you know, it's on a mat. And I think so there's if you can explore some misnomers of, some of the listeners that they're thinking they need to get to the gym and do 700 pounds on the bench press or like 700 pounds of squats. I mean, as an extremely busy, traveling 150,000 miles a year, going to do 1,000 podcasts this year. I'm not being dramatic, like as well as
Yeah,
running the company. Exercise is so important. We're working out for 40 minutes with a mat. Why is
exactly.
that effective? We could end a little bit on some of the science and myths for like this.
Absolutely. So what I like to tell people, let's look at history.
Oh,
When
and I was
when
in a very catastrophic accident, like where I
yes,
was I was paralyzed permanently in my right arm.
and
That
we
the
had to work
audience,
around
some
that.
know, some don't know. So coming back into it, having that help, like anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to look back. When was this nation the healthiest? When we're back in the 50s, right? In the 60s, in the 40s, what were we doing? Calisthenics. We were doing basic movements. We weren't using machines. We weren't strapping ourselves into seats so that we can lift. We were doing push-ups, jumping jacks, squats, pull-ups. We were doing the basics. Okay. And when someone's starting a program, just do the basics. If you can't do a push-up, gotta do a push-up. If you can't do a squat, gotta do a squat. If you're not sure how to squat, sit in a chair and stand up. Start there. What I like to do is I like to keep it super simple, make it so everyone can do it. And one of my certifications that I have is a performance specialist, and part of that certification was how do we take someone who's been injured and bring them back to sport. And what it is there's a guide. It's a very simple guide of exercises. That's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And once someone can perform this exercise, we move to the next exercise and the next exercise. So, for example, if you can't do a glute bridge correctly, which is laying on the mat and picking your hips up and feeling the right muscles, you shouldn't be deadlifting because now you've skipped over a very important foundation.
Wow.
So we do the foundational exercises first. And when we get a good foundation, everything else becomes easier. And there's also something that's missed these days, which is something that I coach with everyone, and that's called intrinsic intensity versus extrinsic intensity. Intrinsic is when we squeeze our own muscles and provide our own resistance to our body. Extrinsic would be dumbbells, bands, and things like that. Rate of injury occurs more by using extrinsic load without using intrinsic load. So if we can, the people who actually have made this famous, bodybuilders. When you look at bodybuilders, they don't lift heavy weight. What they
Oh, yeah.
do is they feel the weight that they're lifting because they actively contract the muscles that they're using. So they're not only creating a neurological connection to their brain with those muscles, but they're actually doing something that's improving um, the motor unit, because each muscle has a motor unit, it has multiple motor units. The more motor units you have, the bigger the muscle fiber, the better the contraction, the better it looks aesthetically, but ultimately the more contractual power it has. So if we use intrinsic intensity with extrinsic intensity, but at a lower weight, we're actually able to create a better response. So by doing push-ups and feeling the muscles in your back working, the muscles in your arms and chest working, is much better than going down and just trying to throw up a bunch of dumbbells and only feeling your shoulder. So one thing I do coach is intrinsic intensity and making sure you have that nice isometric squeeze on your muscle while you're moving through the movements.
Mm.
And that in itself will do lots and lots of improvements. You'll burn more calories from the same exercise you're doing. Your muscles will get stronger from it because you're creating more motor units. And the body will respond better to it, and your joints will take less of a beating,
Mm. Wow.
and you won't be as sore. And ultimately, because you won't beat your joints up, you'll feel better because you're going to move correctly.
If you were to, for our audience moving into the new year, one lasting impression from this conversation, or one thing you want them to take away, take action on, and move forward, before next time we go a bit more scientific, I'd love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
But yeah, one final theme, action step to get two things, that one for the person that's getting restarted, and the second would be for the one that's already in it but might have a blind spot to something that they could take
Okay.
away.
So for the first person who's going to get into it, take that first step. The first step is the hardest. And then remain consistent. Whether you're walking around the block once and that's your goal, do it every day. Consistency is the most important thing. It doesn't matter at the level in which you're training at, it doesn't matter the level of your nutrition. If you consistently are active and you consistently try to improve your diet, it doesn't have to be, nothing has to be perfect, but just consistently try to get a little better each day. And if you have a bad day, guess what? You get to wake up the next morning and start all over again. Don't carry it over. Always consistently keep moving forward. And even if you get knocked back a little bit, it's okay. It happens. Just keep moving forward. And it doesn't matter at what rate you move forward as long as you're moving forward. And to me, that's the most important thing that I coach to my clients. Let's just make sure we're doing the best that we can.
Mm.
And then small, like I said before in the beginning, small changes turn into big changes. And so as long as we're doing those small changes, we're in great shape. Um, and then for the people who are already in it, I like to think of fitness as like almost like a pyramid. And then we have sleep, exercise, and we have nutrition. And you can put those slices on the pyramid wherever you want because all three of them are very, very important. For sleep, quality for sure is really, really important. So if you can get a quality 6 to 8 hours, excellent. Um, Make sure that you're purposefully exercising and not just going in there and exercising, you know, randomly. Have a plan and be consistent. Consistent, consistent, consistent. It's always the most important thing to be. And then for nutrition, I like to keep it really simple. You eat meat, except for red meat. You eat seafood, vegetables, fruits, eggs, water, coffee. 7 things. You live by those 7 things, you're gonna feel better. You're gonna look better. You're gonna be happier because your body's gonna be happier. Everything will be better if you stick to those core 7 things. Um, you're just going to function better. And I always take it back to 500 years ago, we didn't have a Publix. We worked for our food. You know what I mean? We don't work for our food anymore. We drive up and get it out of a window. And that's where I think we have lost our body's health has kind of lost its way because we've made everything so convenient. We don't have to work for it anymore. Imagine 5,000 years ago, you were just waiting for something to kind of come by and you were going to get it no matter what. I mean, you were hungry, and that hunger is what drove you. And I think hunger is one of the most powerful emotions the body can have because it'll cause you to do really dumb things. And 5,000 years ago, they would chase down something that would easily try to kill them because they were hungry. People were hungry. So making sure that you're taking care of your gut is super super important.
Hmm. If you listen to this podcast, pay very close attention. Go re-listen. Use this as your motivation to go into the new year and moving forward. Michael, what's the best way people can follow you, contact you, and bring you into their company or seek you
I
out
would
to
I
gain
would
more
probably
information?
say I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do a lot of social media stuff, and then probably through email or phone call.
And your email?
My email is mike.h.christiansen@gmail.com.
Christensen with an SEN.
SEN, yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was really amazing.
It was
Part
awesome being
one.
here. Thank you. It was great seeing you again.
Yes, sir. And if you're listening to this podcast, reach out to Michael. He's a wealth of knowledge. Please uh, leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. Thanks again, brother.
Awesome. Thank you.